Welcome to another exciting edition of Salsa Profiles. How you doing, everyone? I'm Jorge Quintana, and this evening we're here live at Birdland for the CD release party of Larry Harlow's latest recording on the Latin Cool label. With me is David Wasserman, president of Latin Cool, and Bobby Marin, A&R man. David, this is a very exciting event to have Larry Harlow do some Latin jazz. How did the record company come about?
Well, after 35 years on Wall Street, I was fortunate enough to be in a position to pursue my passion, which is Latin jazz, and growing up in New York, and the opportunity to have Larry come on board was irresistible. And with the help of my associate Bobby Marin, we are fortunate enough to have Larry, and we have a whole catalog of artists, and we're real excited.
Let's name some of those artists, because I know you can't hang your hat only on Larry, which is a great place to hang it, but you need a little bit more than that.
Well, we signed Demetrius Costaris in the Latin Jazz Coalition.
Okay.
They're a large orchestra from New York City. We have Andrea Brockfeld, a wonderful, renowned flute player.
Right, from China.
We have a great bunch of guys from the Philadelphia area called Syntrone, another large, exciting band that will, they'll drive you crazy. We have the fabulous female vocalist Debbie Resto, who, in my estimation, is the next superstar on the horizon. You'll have the good fortune to hear her sing tonight, and I think you'll agree when you hear her.
Sounds great. Sounds like you have a great lineup there.
Definitely.
And real quick before we get to Bobby, how did your love with Latin jazz start?
You know, it's interesting that you would ask, because I was going to mention it later, but I have an older brother, Ad. And so I'm going to dedicate this evening to his memory, because as a little boy, my older brother listened to the Tito Puente and Rodriguez and Machito and Alfredito, and so it was one ear I listened to that, and the other I listened to Little Richard.
Okay, well that's
the
combination.
It's a good combo, yeah, definitely.
David, good luck with everything.
Thanks very much.
It's a pleasure. Looking forward to a great night here.
Thank you.
And I want to take a little time with Bobby. Well,
George?
It's always a pleasure seeing you in action. How did you get involved with Latin Cool?
Well, I got involved with Latin Cool by having the good fortune of meeting this gentleman right here, David Wasserman. He has been, as you know, I've been up and down in this business. I've been with various record labels and worked with many people, but I've never been happier than working with this gentleman right here, David Wasserman. He's made all of this possible, and I can't add anything to what he said as far as the artists, because we've signed up some very, very special artists.
Definitely.
And we're just excited about everything that's going to happen in the year 2003. We're kicking it off right here at this time, right here in Birdland, and this wonderful response that we're getting here is great, and I think it's a real happening thing.
Let me ask you, how did you get Larry Harlow to sign on and do a Latin jazz recording?
Larry Harlow, actually, it's a funny story. I was on my way to meet David Wasserman one evening, and I told Larry that I was going to meet this gentleman, hopefully convince him to start a Latin jazz label. And Harlow said, "Hey, I just finished recording a Latin jazz record." So I said, "Give me a copy of it. I'll bring it to him." And the rest is history. Here we are.
It sounds good. Once again, I'm Jorge Quintana at Salsa Profiles, and we'll have more music of Larry Harlow and some more talk coming up.
The Latin Cool record label, and you're all part of Latin music history, and we have some great music in store for you. But first, I would like to invite Mr. David Wasserman, the president of Latin Cool Records, and the man who's responsible for all of this. David, thank you.
Well, of course, this is a thrilling evening for me. I want to welcome all of my beloved family and friends and my new friends. And this has been an endeavor to fulfill a dream that I've had for a long time. And I'd like to dedicate this evening to the memory of my late brother Richard, whose love of Latin music pervaded my whole youth. And so, as I told somebody earlier, I spent my childhood listening to Tito Puente and Rodriguez out of one ear and Little Richard out of the other. And so I'm very thankful that I have a family that's been supportive, and I can tell you right now that I had the good fortune of meeting Bobby Marin, who is not only an associate, but has become a friend, and for that I am very grateful. And of course, the musicians, they're more than musicians, they become like family to me. And I care about them as much as I care about my family. Only kidding, honey. But I want you all to enjoy the evening. You'll get a taste of what we're trying to do with Latin Cool. We want to make this the most prestigious Latin jazz label in the world. And this is a good start. You guys judge for yourself. Okay, Louis, thank you.
Okay. I wanted to take a quick shout out to Mr. Andy Kaufman, the co-owner of Birdland, also for his help. And right now, we're going to start the evening with the latest member of the Latin Cool label, and she's going to sing a number for you, the very beautiful Debbie Resto. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. I want to thank you all for being here, and I just wanted to say I know you're all very special people, not because I've met you all, but because you're here ready to check out music that's not on the top 10. And that takes special people. So I really want to thank you for tuning in and being a part of the avant-garde. And with that said, I'd like to give this song to you as a gift. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. This song is for you.
Sing that song, baby. Cuando vuelva a tu lado.
for you. The reason why we're here tonight is El Judío Maravilloso, Mr. Larry Harlow. And the Latin Jazz Experience. Encounter. Oh my goodness. But it's going to be an experience tonight. And we have some great music lined up. Larry.
All right, where are these musicians? They're always late. I said, how come you're late for this? How come you're late? He says, not one flat tire. I had 2 flat tires. I thought I heard them all. Anyway, thank you all for coming out tonight. I'd like to thank Mr. Dave Wasserman and Bobby Marin and all the guys from Latin Cool for this wonderful party tonight. And I want you to know he went to practically no expense in throwing this party. Right, David? How about Debbie Resto? One more round of applause for Debbie. Right. So we got a few surprises coming up. And I'd like to, well, I'll introduce everybody later on. This is my first venture into Latin jazz, and Dave and Bobby were very nice in putting this album out on this new to launch a new label. So the label's called Latin Cool, and the band is called the Latin Jazz Encounter. Over on the far end, Mr. Mitch Froman on the baritone saxophone. So the Bronx Horns and alumnus of Tito Puente's band. From parts unknown in Virginia, Mr. Mac Golahan. Nobody knows where he's from. We don't tell him about that. From Panama, Mr. Guillermo Richo on the bass. Yo, we got family here tonight. On the conga drums, the great Chembo Corniel. And on the drums, a man who needs no introduction, an educator, a fine drummer, teacher, and a Grammy nominee, Mr. Bobby Sanabria on the drums. Without further ado, everybody put your hands together!
Everybody a happy holiday season, whatever faith you have, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. He told me the story one day that he was playing in, he played a month one night in Des Moines, Iowa. A month. And somebody yelled out from the audience, "Mr. Puente, can you please play a Santana song?" So Tito said, I only play Puente music. So one day he went home and he opened up his mailbox, and in the mailbox was a royalty check for Oye Como Va, of which he wrote. He was the composer. And he said, wow, I looked at the check, and the check, it was like 20 figures low, but Mexican pesos. So from now on, all I play is Santana music. So this is a Tito Puente song that he wrote many years ago. He recorded maybe 25 times. And we're going to do a little tribute to Tito Puente. This is what's called Philadelphia Mafia. showman of the baritone. Got a little Chemo Pariel. Oh, it's another. Alfredo, where are you?
And we're back at Salsa Profiles right here in Birdland, and with me, one of the more well-known or renowned female flautists in the New York scene, Andrea Brockfeld. Andrea, welcome to Salsa Profiles. It's our pleasure to have you here. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Well, I just signed with Latin Cool Records, and they are releasing my Latin Jazz CD called Remembered Dreams with Phoenix Rising, and I'm in the midst of recording a new project which is called Son Charanga, and it's a charanga jazz record.
Well, that's where I was going to go exactly. Your first album, Latin Jazz. Why is that instead of something charanga based?
I don't know, it was just kind of the music that I was feeling at the moment, and now I'm feeling other music.
Well, let's go back for our viewers that really don't know you that well. You've been one of the premier charanga flautists for many years, not to date you or anything like that, but how did it all come about for you?
Well, I have to thank Mauricio Smith for turning me on to the first charanga band that I played with, which was in 1974, and that was Típica New York, with Mike Perez.
How did you get to know Mauricio?
I was sitting in a club at the Tin Palace on the Bowery and 2nd Street, I believe, and he was in the audience, and he came up to me after I sat in, excuse me, and he asked me if I was working, and I said no, and he said, would you like to work? And I said, of course. You know, so.
That's great. So how long have you been playing flute?
I've been playing for about 38 years.
And you started at the age of -3 then, basically, I would say.
I started when I was a child.
And are you classically trained, or
Yes,
what school did you attend?
I went to Manhattan School of Music.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
And I would suggest that for anybody who wants to become a musician to definitely have the classics behind them.
And how has your love for Latin music blossomed?
How has it blossomed? It's just inside. It's just inside of me. So every time I write a piece of music, there's a danzón or danza or, you know, a song. There's always some kind of rhythm inside me.
You've mentioned that you're heading out to Cuba, so what's your expectations on that trip?
Well, I think I'll be playing a lot of music, listening to a lot of music, and not sleeping at all.
That's pretty much the way everyone describes Cuba. Andrea, thank you very much for joining us on Salsa Profiles. We wish you the very best. And is there anything you want to say about Latin Cool?
Latin Cool is great, and hopefully everybody will be listening to all the artists. I think it's a great company, and I'm having a lot of fun with everybody who's signed.
Thank you very much. I'm Jorge Quintana. This is Salsa Profiles at Birdland.
Anyway, we got a little special treat for you tonight. Your brother, come on. Right here. We have a special treat for you tonight. 2 other artists that have just signed with Latin Cool. We'd like to welcome to the bandstand Miss Andrea Brockfeld. Where are you, Andrea?
I'm accepting for Andrea.
The trophy, right? Oh, they're in the bathroom. Oh, there you are.
Larry, I just wanted to send a shout out to the boys from Cintron, who are also on the Latin Cool label, and also Mr. Chico Mendoza.
Demetrius, where's Demetrius, Gustavus? Demetrius, where's my Greek Latino trombone player? Demetrius also signed with Latin Cool. There you are, my friend. So how about a nice round of applause for Andrea and Demetrius? We're going to do a song that's kept me working for the last 25 years. Who wrote it, Larry? This is written by Arsenio Rodriguez many years ago. And we're going to stretch out a little bit. Where's Alfredo? Where is he? He's stretching up. He's looking for his bow. And Alfredo de la Fe, back in the United States after 20 years. We really need him here in New York, a very fine violinist that we're doing a couple of concerts with on the 19th and 20th of December at Lehman College and then at the Copacabana. He's looking for his bow, right? Where did he go?
He went to the pawn shop to get it. Okay, he went to the pawn shop to get his medal. Here he is. We'll wait for our friend. Our friend will plug into this thing here. Talk.
You forgot to say hello to Mike.
Mappy Torres is here. Mappy, where are you? We'd like to thank everybody from the press and everybody from the trade, from the music business for coming down.
I'm a member of la Escuela Nacional de Ballet.
now, please. Demetrius. Alfredo de la Fe on the medal. A surprise. Thank you, Papa. I'll see you on the 19th and the 20th. So on behalf of the Latin Jazz Encounter, Timbo Corniel, Bobby Sanabria, Matt Golahan, Mitch Coleman, Theo Mitchell, and myself, thank you all for coming tonight. Birdland has a show coming in, so we got to get out of here soon. So thanks all for coming tonight. Have a happy, happy holiday!
Okay.
You got it?
We're back at Salsa Profiles, and yes, this is proof that I'm allowed backstage. Going at Julio Maravilloso, Larry Harlow, I'm Jorge Quintana, and we're at Birdland, and Larry just, with his band, played a dynamic set to introduce his new album on Latin Cool called
The Latin Jazz Encounter.
Now, Larry, I have one question I want to ask you. As a salsa, as a final all-star.
We know each
salsa,
other a long time.
Definitely, but as a final all-star, one of those landers, we go with Eddie Palmieri, Tito, Ray Barretto. What brought you to the Latin jazz side?
Well, it's been very difficult trying to book a 14 or 15-piece band on the European jazz circuits, on the European concert circuits for the summer. The way the economy is, and because of 9/11 and everything, they're very reluctant to pay for 15 plane tickets. So I said, well, let me try something a little different. And like Eddie Palmieri, like Ray Barretto, I've never done a Latin jazz album before, so I said, let me give it a shot and see what comes out. And Andy Kaufman from Birdland was very gracious in letting us do a week here last summer, and we recorded live one night, and this album is what came out of that night. And the reaction to the album has been very good. All the reviews have been great. And tonight was our record release party, and now they only have to fly 6 guys instead of 15, so it's much easier.
and it's funny that you mentioned it for more financial reasons, where everyone else has done out of frustration of the salsa market. So
I'm really a salsero, and I love dance music, and I love creating with the big band. I like creating new things, and for me, playing Latin jazz is something new. And I personally, I really didn't think if I had it in me, but after playing,
not to cut you up, but you can't say that, because obviously from Mario Bowser's day, there is a little jazz swing in all salsa. From the solos, it's there.
Most certainly. But I never, I was always a frustrated jazz player. I always wanted to play a little jazz, and the Latin jazz idiom gives me a chance to really stretch out a little bit, a little differently. And I picked the guys very carefully. Eddie Guagua couldn't be with us tonight, or Ronnie Cuba, because they're both out on different parts of the world, and I used Guillermo and Mitch Froman, which are no slouches. They're not so bad either. And we've been traveling, we've been working, and it's starting to pick up as soon as the record's getting all the stores and all the distributors. We've been getting real good airplay, and we were very happy, and I want to say hello to everybody. And don't forget, I'm still a salsero. I'm still doing my salsa thing.
I was just going to ask that. Are you going to be like Eddie and say goodbye to salsa, or you still have it in you?
Well, Eddie's really still playing salsa, no matter what he says. Barretto's playing jazz, but I'm kind of in the middle of the two of them, and hopefully this will be a stepping stone to a new next part of my career, and it gives me a little more depth and a little more wider audience, because there's less singing, there's less Spanish, and it's more instrumental and more soloist, so more soloing. So I think it's more worldwide accepted, more worldwide Latin jazz than Latin salsa music.
Well, it's still danceable to a certain extent.
Oh, most certainly.
And what I enjoyed out of your show this evening, from what I've seen of the CD, because I haven't had a chance to fully hear it, you picked some classic. You picked your standard from Arsenio Rodriguez, to say the least.
But tonight I played a lot of more on the Latin side of the jazz side. But we do a lot of Latin jazz standards, and a lot of good soloing, and it's something different. I could combine the two, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So maybe this starts a new phase in my career.
Definitely, and we wish you a lot of luck.
And thank you, everybody. Keep tuned to the station, because there's some good stuff on this station.
Definitely. I'm Jorge Quintana with Larry Harlow. This is Salsa Profiles, and we hope you've enjoyed this show.